Today is a little bit of a bittersweet episode. The good news for me is we're talking about Buakaw. And Buakaw is one of my favorite fighters. He has been since about 2004 when I started watching K1 Max and he was involved in that. Now, I cover him on this channel so much because he's an amazing fighter. He's probably the fighter, aside from myself, on this channel that we talk about the most. Primarily because of his amazing kicks and his clenching. But the downside is our news today removes his ability to kick whatsoever. And the news is Buakaw has signed a multi-fight deal with Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships. When I saw a post about half an hour ago saying Buakaw signed with this promotion, I right away thought, no, that's a joke. And then I looked it up, I found another thing confirming it, and then I looked again and found something else, and my wave of emotions has kind of been like up, down, up, down, up. Not really sure how I should process this information. So now that I've had time to sort of sit on it, reflect, think, I'm going to talk to you guys about the situation, why it probably happened, and we're going to talk about Buakaw's most recent fight because he just came off a 4-year layoff in between fights, right around the same time when I came back from a big break, except my break was only 2 years. And remember, you guys can watch my most recent fight right there. So today we're going to be covering Buakaw's most recent fight, plus this crazy news that Buakaw has signed with Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships, and how I think he will do in this promotion, and why we didn't see him sign somewhere else, like maybe an MMA or ONE FC. That's where I would have liked to see him go. So let's start off and let's talk about this signing. He has multiple fights. That doesn't really clarify if it's 2 fights or 6, but when somebody goes to Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships and signs a contract, it's usually about the money. This is what we see very often. Paige Van Zandt moved from UFC to Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships, and her purse was substantial. Now, here's the situation with Buakaw. There's nowhere for him to go in Japan where they're going to pay him. Chinese promotions have kind of slumped down after the pandemic. There were some big ones over there, and apparently he was getting good money before when he fought in China, which was quite frequently, but with the pandemic and many of the promotions going like that, they are not putting on as many cards, and they probably just don't have the same amount of money. This is just me speculating, but I have fought in China 4 times, and I have a little bit of a feel for what's happening over there, just in terms of people reaching out and asking me for fights. In addition, he could go to ONE FC. That's where I would love to see Buakaw fighting. But the reality is that they are not going to pay top dollar for a 40-year-old fighter. Or at least I don't think they will. Probably not the amount that Buakaw wants to fight the very, very best in the world. So Buakaw's follow-up options are to continue fighting sort of low-level, no-name people, kind of like Sanchai does, just to continue building his name to get the fights, probably likes training, but he's not going to get big money from that. If he goes to a different promotion, let's say like UFC, somebody goes, oh, well, why didn't he sign with UFC if he's going to do Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships? Well, UFC does not pay massive amounts of money for people unless they're already an enormous name in the MMA world, or they think the person can become a superstar, a pay-per-view superstar, which usually means they will become a champion. If they look up Buakaw, they won't go, no, he's not going to be a champion, and we probably don't want to pay him like 250 grand per fight. But Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships has been throwing big money at fighters who have left UFC, who are, former boxers, and now a former Muay Thai champion, probably one of the most iconic fighters from Thailand. This is a big signing for them. Absolutely. Very, very big. It's going to pull a lot of eyes there. And hopefully, and what I'm thinking, Buakaw's reason to sign there is he's going to get a good amount of money. And he absolutely deserves it. He's been fighting for so long. Massive name. He does deserve to make some big money at the end of his career. Because you might go, okay, when he was fighting in K1, he was getting $200,000-$300,000 to win those big, massive 8-man tournaments. But you might not realize that the gym he was at, Port Pramuk, took a massive amount. I have heard up to 80% of his prize money. So once Buakaw left that gym, went on his own, was getting some bigger money from K1 when he was fighting in China, but that was more like 60 grand per fight as I hear. So for him to be able to sign somewhere and get massive money, in my opinion, is very good. But now we need to talk about, am I interested in watching Buakaw go bare knuckle in strictly boxing? And let's be real. Why do I watch Buakaw? I watch because I want to see him execute that left round kick. I want to see him throw that right low kick and chop people down. I want to see him catch kicks and sweep people out. That is why I tune in to watch Buakaw. When he fights his debut in Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, I will absolutely be interested to see what happens. But unfortunately, without the kicks, it's not of the same interest to me. And we need to be realistic. You guys know when I have a fight approaching, I break down somebody and I go, how good are they? I'm very, very proficient at looking at somebody's strengths and their weaknesses and assessing how good they are and where their holes are. Buakaw is one of the best kickers in the world. He would be a nightmare, an absolute nightmare to fight under kickboxing or Muay Thai rules. In boxing, his hands are not great. There are a number of holes, and he very often gets tagged in the chin when he's in punch exchanges. So this is a dangerous fight for him to take, or multiple fights for him to take. Now, he probably won't get super high elite people who are going to be outboxing him, but still, it's not something I love. I don't love the rule set for him. It is more dangerous than seeing him fight under Muay Thai rules where he can just utilize the long guard, stay at a distance, not have to exchange in those boxing combos. So I will be very interested in the comments below to hear if any of you are super excited to hear Buakaw has signed with this promotion. If you are, let me know. If you're disappointed and you would have rather have seen him in one or some other big fight promotion, Ryzen, I don't know, something around the world, also let me know in the comments below and we will get an assessment who is super pumped for Buakaw's future fighting career. Now, what I also want to do is talk about his most recent fight, his comeback after 4 years off. That is a super long time in the fight world. As I already mentioned, I believe it was 2 years, something like 4 months off. And for me to come back, it wasn't too crazy difficult, but still the first month I was a little bit off. I wasn't feeling 100%. And even in the fight, the first round, I was kind of like, oh, okay, things are not feeling ideal. When I saw the Buakaw return fight and I watched, I was not watching as a judge. I was watching for the entertainment, the love of seeing Buakaw in action. But when the fight finished, I kind of went, I don't know if he won that. Now, like I said, I wasn't scoring it like 100% like a judge would where I'm locked in and I'm kind of using my fingers and tallying who's actually winning. But it was not his best performance, and he might have got given a little bit of a gift of a win. Now, that does not mean that he can just, come back. His second fight would have been incredible after a big layoff, or maybe his opponent was very, very good in this fight. I'm not sure. But overall, if you've gone and you've watched this fight, you will see many clips where he struggles with his opponent. The guy's a little bit taller. He had some sort of long front kicks. The surface or the canvas that they're fighting on looked really slippery. It looked like it was actually raining when they were fighting at certain times, but not quite as clean a return to the ring as I would have expected from this Muay Thai superstar. So going forward, this will be very interesting to see how his career sort of evolves and transpires with just strictly hands. What you have to keep in mind about bare knuckle fighting championships is without gloves. We're not talking about a little padding. We're talking zero and a little wrist support if you want it, but the knuckles are exposed. When the knuckles are exposed, there's more chance of breaking the hand. When there's more chance of breaking the hand, people are not throwing in the same way. They're not throwing with the same volume, and very often not with the same power. You have to really try and target here, because if you hit up there, you might just break your hand. And I have been asked by a number of people in comments before. I've never really responded, but people asking me, would I ever consider signing with this promotion? Honestly, at this point in my career, unless I was throwing a truckload of money, it's not high on my list of things to do. And I am all about minimizing damage, as you guys know when you watch my fights. Sometimes I come up with cuts, but the amount of massive shots I take is fairly minimal, which is why I'm able, or I'm hoping, to get out of this career with my brain still intact. And, you know, bare knuckle fighting championships, like I said, the guys are not hitting quite as hard, but you do see some scarred up faces. And just would I sign with them? I honestly don't know. It would have to be, as I said, for a whole bundle of money, which I'm hoping Buakaw is getting for this signing. So we're gonna wrap it up there. I hope you guys enjoyed being brought this news. This channel is not about bringing you news on a day-to-day basis, but every once in a while I see a little bit of information where I go, I gotta share this with you before you hear it somewhere else, or before, you know, it's old news and you don't hear about it, and then all of a sudden one day you see that Buakaw fought without gloves on in BKFC. So if you did enjoy the episode, you enjoyed the news, please give the video a like. If you haven't already, join the channel, get subscribed. As always, guys, continue to train hard, and I will see you back here soon for another episode.